Hey you guys, Melissa Guzman here at Mission Ranch in lovely Merced, California. I've got some wonderful content for you today going over recession, what that means, and how that might affect you. I did a live earlier today on Facebook, and I'll be posting that as well. That's about 30 minutes long, and I know not everybody is going to want to watch, the interaction. So this video will be just the meat and potatoes of what the heck were we talking about. So if you're interested in seeing some definitions of recession, of what's been going on in the media, is it going to affect you? What should you be concerned about? And maybe get a little history lesson, then keep watching. So we are currently in one of the longest economic recoveries in history, okay? Economic recovery, we're recovering, we're thriving. It's something that happens after, a big hit on our economy. So we've been in a really long stretch. So what slows down an economic recovery is an economic slowdown. I mean, that kind of makes sense, right? Slows down. Now, what is the definition of a recession? The definition of a recession is 2 consecutive quarters where the GDP slips down. Just 2, okay? Half a year, 6 months. 2 consecutive quarters where the GDP goes down. That is not the definition of a crisis. It is not the definition of a crash, okay? So you don't need to worry about people jumping to, or media or whoever's saying it out there, jumping to crash and collapse and all of these terrible words that are getting them clicks, that are getting them attention, that are getting them likes, that are getting them views, okay? Not everybody wants to hear positivity. It's really easy to get, attention grabbing. Look at the news. I mean, why is it so easy to see negativity in our news? Because that's what sells, newspapers. That's what negative headlines get attention. So for those of you who are considering investing in real estate or investing in whatever, but you're hearing the words recession, so you're thinking, I got to hold all my chips and maybe hide under a blanket somewhere until it passes, you may want to rethink after this video, okay? So economic experts are about split half and half on where this recession is going to take us. Half of them think that we're going to end with the best economy in history, and half of them think that we're about to crumble. So is that pretty standard for human nature? I mean, I think so. It's pretty standard. You always got the naysayers, you've always got the optimists, and then of course you can always refer to history too and where that goes. So nobody is anticipating the end of this current recession until after elections, okay? But anything can happen, but those are directly from economists and some of the best and brightest that have looked at what's going on in our economy. So what's really happening? Well, for anybody who survived 2008, I am one of them. And I say I survived, but I really kind of skedaddled is more like it, okay? I was a realtor in 2008. I started in 2002 my real estate journey. And when 2008 hit, I was very young and very green, and I was very experienced at that time on the financial side, and I had been managing a team of people, but truly I was not super experienced with how the market can shift and twist and turn and what to do in those circumstances. And at that time, I didn't know the value of having a good mentor. We didn't have YouTube and all these things to research or and I really wasn't sure what to do, but I knew that I had a small child and that I shifted gears. I left real estate. I said, screw this, okay? Because it was crazy. We were having, all of our lenders were, what they called it, imploding. So every day I'd see lenders, like big lenders that we worked with regularly, almost every day, just implode. They were gone. They were off the list. And we had hundreds of lenders that we could work with if someone was shopping to purchase or refinance. I mean, we had people breathing down our necks trying to sell us products, and we were selling a lot of different products. Some of them were, 2-year fixed, 3-year fixed, 5-year fixed loans, and a lot of them, which was very appealing to the public, were called negative amortization loans. Now, those negative amortization loans, the way that they work is that you pay partial interest. The rest of the interest goes to your principal balance. So your principal amount, the amount you owe, goes up if you don't make your full payment. You have this option for a partial payment, okay? The partial payment's just a little of the interest. So eventually, you're paying interest on interest, right? And your loan amount keeps going up, keeps going up. Now, that was a very volatile product that we were selling, and the idea was that your equity would go up along with your loan amount, so you would be covered, or just use the partial interest payment if you need it. No, most people were just making that minimum payment, and then, you know, when the option for the partial payment was no longer there and they had an interest rate was higher than they were able to accommodate the minimum payments, and they lost their home. Or they'd have interest rates fixed for 2 years or 5 years, and then once the fixed rate option was gone and they were adjustable, the interest rates were very high and they weren't able to afford it. And because all of the lenders had imploded and you only had very limited options who really weren't lending at that time, guess what? They were out of options and they had to sell, or they had to sell to the bank. So 2008 was traumatic. I'm not going to take that away from anybody. Of course, you know, you hear recession, people start referring back to our 2008 experience. But human nature, right? We are comfortable with fear. We're comfortable with that, you know, negative association. We learn by it. That's a survival skill, right? We've been here before. Oh, this is hot. Don't touch it. That's what's happening with that buzzword recession going around. So let me just ease your mind with a few facts. Okay, I'm back. My phone is what I use for my filming, obviously, if you can tell the quality. And I get messages and calls all the time. So if I ever break up randomly and you see like weird editing, that's probably why. Or if you see my eyes drift around, it's because I'm watching messages as I'm filming. So just a little transparency for you. So back to the myth debunking. Let's lay down some facts, okay? Now, what are economists saying are going to trigger this next recession that we are to experience, okay? Not saying there's not going to be a recession. I'm trying to help people understand what that means. Let's not just use it as a buzzword. Let's not use it as a word to gloom and doom, you know, end of the world, Chicken Little, the sky is falling. Let's not do that, okay? Now, our next recession, what is triggering it? First, top 3 reasons, okay, that people are saying are the possible triggers. First one, trade war. And no, we're not going to get into these reasons. I'm just going to state you the facts. 2, stock market correction. Historically, completely normal. 3, geopolitical. Those are the top 3 possible triggers for this next recession, okay? Where do you think the housing market is on there? Number 9, okay? Number 9, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 5. Number 9. And they're saying a housing slowdown, okay? Not the housing crash, not the market melting down. No, they're just saying that may be one of the influences if we get to this recession part, why, you know, we would call it a recession, basically. Now, in 2008, when we had our recession, what do you think were the top 2 reasons? Top reason, mortgage meltdown. Not a mortgage slowdown, a mortgage meltdown. That's what happened, okay? Our mortgage market melted down. Literally, I watched all of my lenders implode. I had calls one after the other of people trying to get out of these loans, trying to fix their housing situation. I couldn't help anybody because of the state of lending, okay? Mortgage meltdown, that melted down, yes, it was crazy. So of course, people who are in the kind of business I was, not so much the retail side, but the financial side, they completely lost all of their income. So they, yeah, we won't get into that. It was pretty tragic though, how people were influenced in that way. Second thing, housing was not a slowdown at that time, okay? Housing was a crash. Okay, sorry, I'm trying to look at my notes here. Housing was crashing at that time, not slowing down. So mortgage meltdown, housing crisis. Two big reasons 2008's recession was influenced and triggered, okay? So let's look at the other recession in 2001. People aren't even thinking about that one, okay? 2001, hello, we had a recession. Now, what were the triggers then? Stock market, right? There was a financial and investment shift at that time, okay? Housing actually in 2001, prices went up. That's actually more in line with what happens in history during a recession. If the stock market is having a correction where their numbers are going down, then housing typically gets a little bit more busy and prices tend to go up because of the being more competitive. Why? Okay, so for anybody who has studied finance or who does study finance, in school or independently, whatever, there's a book I want to reference called Unshakable by Tony Robbins. And I referenced that one. It talks about all kinds of other books that you can get into if you're interested in this topic. I like Unshakable though, because it's kind of a go-to that references all the best and greatest different influences in that area. But Unshakable basically tells you how to be an investor, that when one area doesn't do well, the other area carries you, and how to allocate your assets so that when things happen like recessions or corrections, you're not getting a big gut punch and going broke overnight because all of your eggs are in one basket. Now, I love that book because I was one of those people who had all of my eggs in one basket when 2008 hit. So I had to learn the hard way. Now, everybody has a different experience, okay? But Unshakable just talks about, the market is always shifting. The stock market, the housing market, there's different investments. Art goes up, art goes down, all kinds of different investments are always shifting. So basically, if you're in the stock market and you notice that your investments are going down, and it also talks about different types of investments in the stock market as far as long-term versus short-term, and what is good to sell when it's going down, what's good to hold on to, and it's really, really wonderful advice. Shout out to Tony Robbins. I know, I'm so basic for that, but I love him. So if the market is shifting, the stock market, a lot of people tend to allocate their investments to the real estate market, okay? So 2001, that was the trend. 2008, completely different story. First time that had happened in history. So yeah, it was pretty insane, okay? They're anticipating this next recession, 2019, 2020, to be similar to that because it is basically what they're saying is mainly fueled and triggered by the stock market. So if you see the stock market start going down, it may be a good time to invest in some real estate. So of course, there's always going to be multiple influences going on, but I would not say that it's not a good time to buy, that it's not a good time to get into any kind of investment, because that is not the triggering influence on the possible recession that we may be experiencing. So if you guys have any questions about this, I hope I was clear for you. I hope I broke that down and debunked some myths that you might have had associated with some of the media right now. Don't ghost your real estate agent. Don't, try to hide under a blanket until it all passes. Don't worry about that, okay? We have to be smarter with what we do with our finances, smarter with how we invest, and it's my moral obligation to try to do as much research for you as possible, bring you information, but I really hope there's so many lovely resources out there, books, media. I mean, there's so much to educate yourself on these things so that you can have a healthy retirement, so you can live a life of freedom. And but don't let fear guide you. Don't let clickbait guide you. I do see people, they question all the time. I'll be promoting for a sale of a house and they're like, well, is it a bad time to buy? What about the recession? I'm like, okay, so that's why we need a video, right? We need a video to address these things. But I would definitely say to, educate yourself in these matters. because a lot of times you hear people just running by these fearful notions, and I'd hate to see you miss out on a great investment opportunity because you're running on fear. So thank you so much for watching today, and I really appreciate you. If you like my video, please hit subscribe, and I hope to have more content for you in the future. Thanks so much.